everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to ChasingCinema.com's official YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to be reviewing My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2. Yes, as you can see, I'm not at AMC Town Square or with Mr. James Shue, but I'm sure you figured out why, because last Thursday night, or Friday morning, me and Mr. Shue reviewed Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice. If you've not seen that review yet, click this little white eye up here, and you'll be able to see it. This movie was so big, everyone wanted to talk about it. Our review is quite lengthy, but I promise you'll enjoy it. Half of no spoilers, the other half we give clear warning when we start with spoilers. But I didn't want to direct, I knew that was everyone's going to be focused, was going to be Batman vs. Superman, and I figured I would release My Big Fat Greek Weddings video review later on the week, so me and Shue ended up not filming. So I'm going to review this movie quickly here in the confines of the movie room. Anyway, My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2. So obviously this movie is about 14 years in the making. This original film, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, came out in 2002 and was directed by Joel Zwick and ended up becoming the highest grossing comedy of all time. Now what's interesting about this movie is that it didn't open up in wide release. It actually is very limited, but and it actually never earned its #1 spot at the box office. It was just a movie that people kept talking about and talking about and talking about, so more and more people went. I believe the term for that is a sleeper hit. And the more people talked about it, the more people went. It ended up, like I said, still holding the title of the greatest, or highest grossing rom-com of all time. Rom-com meaning romantic comedy. So it's no surprise that a sequel would come of this. However, it just so happens to take 14 years. Now, if you've followed my work before, you know that I'm a fan of sequels that happen over time. I'm not a fan of back-to-back sequels. If I see a movie, I don't want to see the sequel in the following year. I like spending time away from those characters to come back and revisit them. So that at least had it on its side. Now, My Big Fat Greek Wedding is a movie that I think is cute. I think it's silly. I think it's, it's a rom-com, and, it's nothing that I love. It's nothing that I hate. I think it's a movie that's sweet and it does what it's supposed to. It's very effective in its genre, and obviously people really enjoyed that movie. So we pick up with this film, which was also written by Nia Vardalos. She wrote the first film and also plays Tula, the main character. She returns as that character in this film and wrote this one as well. Only this time, this film was directed by Kirk Jones. What can I say about My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2? Well, this movie also follows a wedding, obviously. Actually, the whole family, the Portokalos clan, I don't even know if I said that right, but that's irrelevant. The entire family comes to find out that the mother and father, Tula's mother and father, Gus and Maria, are actually not officially married. While Gus is trying to prove the fact that he is the great descent, or as a direct descendant to Alexander the Great, he finds his wedding license and realizes that the priest never signed it, so him and his wife are not officially married. That is the overall main story here, but there are quite a lot of things going on. So Tula and her husband Ian, the man that she married in the last film, haven't been very romantic, haven't been very intimate, because Tula is very involved in her daughter's life. Her daughter, who is getting ready to move on and go to college, she is kind of feeling the stress of being with this Greek family, as Tula was in the first film, but she's much younger. Gus, her grandfather's trying to marry her off. All these things going on, and she's just kind of wanting to get out. But she's debating because she knows how bad it'll hurt her family. Along with that, we have, like I said, Ian and Tula's relationship kind of trying to work things out. So all these things are going on. And I think that's a problem with the movie, that it is, they call it My Big Fat Greek Wedding, and yes, it is big and fat because it's so bloated. There's just so much going on. There's not one specific storyline. I want to note that there are storylines that come in later in the movie that just are there for a second and then totally just thrown away. It's not even important. For instance, Joey Fatone, who is in this movie, plays a cousin. There's some throwaway lines about him not having a girlfriend, and then later in the movie, secret surfaces, and then it's just maybe in the matter of 4 sentences, 2 there, and then 2 later in the film, it's resolved. So it's just why would you put that in there? Why is something like that necessary to tell the story? Also, Gus, played by Michael Constantine, who I'll get to in a second, his character We find out he's had a little tiff with his brother, who he hasn't talked to in years, and of course that is also resolved very, very quickly. So to me, these are things that I just don't need in the movie. Why are they in the movie if they're not important? If they're not important, they wouldn't be resolved easily. They wouldn't be that quick, right? It doesn't. There's no storytelling in that. But I will say, Michael Constantine actually is the heart of this movie. He is so good. Plays Gus, the father, the one that Windexes everything. He's just so adorable to watch. I mean, he's just a funny old man. Yes, he says the wrong things at the wrong time, and his beliefs aren't always right on, but he's just going through life as he believes it, and he's just so funny. Every time he's on screen, he managed to make me laugh. There's a great scene when he's arguing that Italians are Greeks. The Greeks invented Italians, he says. But there's just so much to really, really enjoy here. I think that this movie is one of those situations where if you liked My Big Fat Greek Wedding, you're going to like My Big Fat Greek Wedding too. Unless you went through some change in the past 14 years that makes you hate rom-coms. Because it follows the formula. Yes, it's silly. It's not a great movie. It's ridiculous. And there's plenty of Windex jokes for everyone. But it's that romantic comedy, and it does what it feeds itself to its audience, right? Like 80% of this movie is all reference. Everything's like, you remember that one time I made this joke? Well, we're going to reference it here. Remember this joke? I mean, that's a huge portion of this movie. And if you laughed, you're going to laugh again. You're going to enjoy it. I mean, the audience in our critic screening cheered and clapped. They were very happy. They were very excited with this movie. They were loving seeing these characters. I mean, if you were charmed by that movie in 2002, you're going to be charmed by this movie. Me, I feel the same. I thought it was silly, thought it was cute, but nothing spectacular. And this movie's nothing spectacular either. But it does what it's supposed to. It's effective in the fact that it's pleasing the audience that have been supporting this movie for the past decade and a half. What can I say about this movie? If they would have cut the extra storylines and the other nonsense, I think this movie would have been a little bit more effective. But nonetheless, you enjoyed this movie. You're going to enjoy this movie if you enjoyed My Big Fat Greek Wedding. It was made specifically for you. I mean, this movie was engineered to please you, right? Like, it is sent to please its fans. People who didn't like My Big Fat Greek Wedding, chances aren't going to go see My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2 because they didn't care for the first, right? So most people that see this movie are going to appreciate it. And if you did, make sure to go check it out. Read my full review as I get a little bit more in depth. You click this white eye up here. Links will drop down. You'll be able to see our review for Batman versus Superman. You'll be able to see this full-on review on ChasingCinema.com. You'll also be able to check out our March 2016 unboxing where I joined Jeffrey K. Howard, the Vegas film critic, to unbox Loot Crate's March 2016 versus box. So make sure to go check that out as well. Also, my weekly updates for the 365-day movie challenge, all going to be listed right here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch this video. My name is Jacob Toronto, and please continue chasing cinema.